this time of divine chaos. And what I would say to you, in my humble opinion, which is actually not that humble, is that I think this is the most extraordinary time in the history of civilization. I'm a wordsmith, and so when I choose my words, I choose them very carefully. And when I say the history of civilization, that's exactly what I mean. And there are other times, because I'm also a bit of a historian, as those of you who know me and have been around my lectures know, that you can look back in history and say there certainly have been a number of times. The history of human beings is the history of turmoil and building and rebuilding and destruction and construction. But where we are now is a pivotal moment unlike any other moment ever. There has never been a time when every single element of life force is participating, from every aquatic creature to every air creature to every country to every religion to every functioning system, to every molecule of life, is participating in the transition from one dynamic to the next. We stand on the cusp of entering the galactic community. That has never happened before. And while we do that, all of our religions are falling apart in front of our eyes, because the mythologies of the religions are no longer strong enough to sustain the people that we have become. So we are transitioning to a galactic people. Even as I speak to you, in Rome, in the Vatican, there's a theological gathering of theologians and astrophysicists and astrobiologists, Jesuits, and philosophers and theologians forming galactic theology. Why I'm not there is beyond me, but they are sculpting
That's awesome.
the new theology, and it's called galactic theology, in which they have to take apart the idea that God is earth, that the earth-centric gods that we have, and construct an idea of the divine that is larger than the idea that there is a God that looks like us, that is off-planet. Now, if I had you in a workshop, and we had all night, I would now hit a pause button and say, we're going to go this way. Because now I'm going to talk to you about health and healing. And I'm going to talk to you about what the greatest handicaps are to healing. And one of the biggest handicaps to healing that I have seen in my own work are the religious mythologies that run in your blood and in your bones. They are a handicap. And there's a difference between religious mythologies and faith. Make no mistake about that. So this is not a commentary on faith. Faith is a different thing entirely. But religious mythologies, off-planet ideas. I'll give you an example. Here's one. And it's the idea that if I do everything right, something bad can't happen to me, because that's the way God is. Now that is a child's idea of a God that looks like a judge. An off-planet God that runs a courtroom somewhere in the celestial world. And that's not the way it is. But when someone says to me, if I only knew what I did wrong, then everything would be put right again. And I would be healthy. What did I do wrong? Now, how many of you can relate to that? What's the lesson here? I must have done something. The suffering of Job is the seeds in many ways of that story. So this is not a new idea. It has the story, the myth goes back to Job. That if we're good people, bad things don't happen to us. And when we say things like that, that person doesn't deserve that. Every time something bad happens in the world, like the tsunami, remember that tsunami that happened somewhere where all the people were killed in Japan, and how many times people would say, all those innocent people. As if before a bad thing, we should empty prisons and clear out the innocent people and put the guilty ones there. But we have this way of thinking. When in fact there is a difference in the healing world, in the healing template. The people who have a greater rapport with healing are the people who get past that polarity of right and wrong, good and bad, and get to a place in their belief that doesn't look for that judgmentalism, that gets beyond that and says, I just have to deal with what happened to me and with my own sense of inner power. This is a different model. Are you with me here?
Yeah.
It's a very different model. It's a different model of, I have to deal with the power of my attitudes right now in the present moment. I look and have to reconcile everything. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I have to deal with making my life good in the moment, with appreciating people in the moment, with doing what matters in the moment. To that extent, these are the choices that actually, I will tell you, make a difference. It matters if you're kind. And I know that it would say, who would put down in the health book that it matters if you're kind, but it does. And I don't know how to measure that, but I'll tell you that it actually makes a difference. It matters if you have kind thoughts about other people. It really does. It makes a difference. It makes a difference in the world, and it makes a difference in your biology. It matters if you have a loving heart. Now, one of the things that I deeply believe is that every one of us, we are wired to be intuitive. That, you know, when I first started working as a medical intuitive, I was educated to be a journalist, and I went into publishing, and my background's in, you know, military history, and then I did graduate work in Christian mysticism. So the last thing I was ever gonna do is work with people in healing and medical intuition, which is something I never heard of. So, but the way I'm built is that the universe or God gave me a genius for something I have no interest in. And absolutely no talent for something I crave doing, which is being a fiction author. I have no talent for it, and that's all I wanted to do. And I have this genius for something I have no interest in. I still don't, but I'm really good at it. And here's the brilliance of that. Because I am good at it, and I'm not interested in it, I never fantasized about it. I never thought, oh, one day it's going to make me famous.